Hello. Hello, 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 hello. It's an odd thing on a Saturday night to be sitting online talking about the dark moon message, but it is what you do, right? Well, tonight I've been thinking a lot about context and the context of our lives, the context of our moments, and the context within which all of us live right now. I often talk about that we live in an era that always have to remember that we're within the context of patriarchy, capitalism, and white supremacy. And so that always has to be something that we are aware of because those layers so many things into our experience, our memories, into our daily lives. Um, we're living within those fields and within those systems that we often forget that what we think of as regular everyday occurrences occurs within the context of those larger systems and therefore has the ability to impact it in ways that often is to our detriment to not notice or to not take into account. This came up for me recently because I've been doing a lot of research and study of body mind connections, specifically looking at the fields that look at the connection between what is called the biopsychosocial context that says that, there's not only for health, it's not just our biological health or our psychological health, but there's also our social health and dare I say, our spiritual and mental health. And so I often find myself when I talk with students and my spiritual counseling clients and with folks I have a spiritual mentoring relationship about let's step back a bit and let's put this into context. Because often we try to own things that are much, much bigger than us. And so we find ourselves in a situation where we're trying to solve literally things like world hunger and climate change and not know that that's what we're up against. So it's often very important to ask the questions early on. How is this incident? How is this symptom? How is this difficulty play in that larger context? Or even how does it play biologically, sociologically, or psychologically, spiritually? Like what are the larger systems that are and can affect my perception and my interactions at this level? Me. I'm trying to give some examples. I have a dear friend who is struggling with some of the same things I struggled with for years, and that is what is ostensibly often called workaholism, right? Type A personality, work, 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 work. And I frequently now, after I've had that long talk with my mentor, it was pointed out to me that actually workaholism may be the wrong term, at least for me, and it may be for almost everybody else. Because in my case, my workaholism was in the context of being a daughter in a patriarchal capitalistic society that ran on white supremacy as its primary fuel. And so I kept working harder and harder, not realizing that I wasn't trying to be better. I was trying to confirm or affirm that I was okay where I already was. So here I was working in R&D in a Fortune 100 company, working on some new technology that no one thought would actually take off. And I was working harder and harder trying to prove, oh yeah, that I should be the one who's here because I work hard. See? I'm here every day. I work long hours. Therefore, you can't call me a fake. You can't call me an imposter. You can't call me a token. I wasn't working hard because there was something wrong with me. I was working hard because I wanted folks to know that there was nothing wrong. Think about that I deserved to be where I was. And and that was a consequence of those larger systems, not my individual work habits. And so the cure for my workaholism was understanding that as a Black woman in America, I was going up against some pretty large systems. And I felt I needed to show that I was worthy of what I've already accomplished. And so I have a dear friend who's going through some of the same things, trying to prove they're worthy. And so, honey, that's not how you do it. You became worthy the first breath you took, the first time you opened your eyes and said, "Hello, new world." We are all worthy. No one has anything to prove. It's only within a context, within systems of privilege, unearned privilege, a system that uses the bodies of humans as tools, and a system that says you have to be part of the white patriarchal capitalist class to matter. And so working hard is not a cure for that. And so just like I needed to step out of the constant critique of myself and into a place where I could see the system within which I was embedded, I'm working with this person to see the same thing. How many of us, right, have taken as a personal defect something that benefits the system? If you are constantly putting yourself down, constantly staring at, look at my thighs, look at my butt, how is that, how is that not a collusion with the larger system? There's nothing that you need to do crit self crit or habit formation. What you need to do is to see that you are in fact giving yourself a hard time because you are living in a system that doesn't care about your survival or your well-being. Context. Context matters. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that in terms of health, especially, and why it's really important that we're moving from a bio based or psycho based or social based or spiritual basis, that we're starting to unite some of the medical, psychological, and spiritual um, realms to look at health from a very different perspective. What if we take out those larger systems, those larger contexts, those larger impediments? What is it that health is? What is it that health and health care is really trying to get at? Right? It's looking at the state of being, the entire state of being of an individual or a community. How are they doing? What are their metrics? What are the measures we can take to ascertain their well being? And when we think about it, why would money enter in that equation? Why would it be if you can pay, you can have health care? The well being of an individual, the well being of a community? What, you play to play, pay to play? I mean, that's insane. The well being of the worldwide organism called humanity should be something that is a given that we care about collectively. And the well being of each individual within that should be something that is no question we care about, each of us, everyone, and all the others, members of this global family, especially those that are greater than human, numerically and often in a lot of other ways too. So context matters for health, right? When I go to the doctor, right, I'll have my doctor will say, "So how are you doing, Katrina?" And I'll say, "Oh, I've had pains, I've had itches, I have this and that." But I seldom say I've been coming up against the limits of what is possible for a Black woman in America. And I think I should say that because I think sometimes she forgets that it's not a simple thing of, oh, you just need to go to see so and so. So and so's a white supremacist. Can't go see them. Or telling a large woman, you should walk, which sounds like a really good statement. You should walk. It's a good activity. It's good for you. But what does a large Black woman hear when you say you should? That's different. But if we looked at the biopsychosocial context, then you would say something a little different. You need to move your body to feel good about yourself, to be in tune with what your body needs. I don't care if it's dancing, walking, yoga, tai chi, whatever. Do something to make your body feel good. That's a different message. And that takes into account the biosocial, biopsychosocial context of a Black woman's life, of a large woman's life, of a woman's life context. So, what are you doing to yourself? What are you complaining about in your life? What things are you coming up against? And you are just adamant that if only you had the will, if only you had the guts, or if only you could do A, or so and so would do X, then everything would be better. It's seldom that simple, really. Step back and look, what are the intervening forces? What are the messages that are embedded within those layers of context? Women don't matter. People of color should be invisible. Children should be quiet. Old folks should hide and go away. I once heard a conversation where some of us were talking about elders, and someone flat out said, "Well, we will know when you're an elder when you shut up." Like, oh, we have got to be able to recognize that there are layers of meaning within all of that. It's only a capitalist view that says people who can't work are of no value and have no use, and therefore they are worth less. Or people who aren't old enough to work, they can't create capital, therefore they have no investment in the system. Or a fat woman, I can't hang my sexual fantasies on her, or maybe I can hang my sexual fantasies on her. So she ought to conform to what I think is possible and what I think is important. You know, we have people walking around their whole lives thinking that something is wrong with them because they are a part of a system that devalues their actual existence. And they are working hard trying to change for no reason. Context. Well, right now we're in the context of climate change disasters worldwide. And we can't pretend anymore that it's out there, that it's in 20 years. It's now. So before you go put your head under a blanket, think about the context. The context is within a system that won't change unless we force it to change collectively. You can recycle, you can compost, you can get solar energy, solar panels put on your thing, on your home or business. You can drive an electric car. You can bike everywhere. But the impact on the climate is not something we do as individuals. It's the context. It's what we do collectively. So if you're beating yourself up for not making changes for climate change, I got news for you. You're not the reason you're in trouble. By all means, pick up some things, do some things that are positive in your stream of impacts on the environment. But let's get clear: it's not about personal defects. It's about collective choices. The context matters. I hope that makes sense. When I say we need to do personal work, I really don't mean that becomes the only work we do. Remember, we are collectively responsible for how this planet turns out. Love you. Love your work. See you next time.